Well, this week in our daily devotional reading, we're jumping into the book of Exodus. And in our coming Sunday teaching, we're going to be looking at the leadership transition and handoff between Moses and Joshua. But as we're reading Exodus chapters 1 through 7 over the next 5 or 6 days, what I want us to look at is what unfolds in Moses' life. We get into chapter 2 and we see how Moses is outraged by what he sees happening to his people. Moses is, of course, a Jew, and he's living in the palace of Egypt. And over time, the mistreatment of his people just kind of gets to him, and he lashes out and he kills one of the Egyptians. What's fascinating is we read later in the book of Acts, in the New Testament, Stephen's giving the history of the people of Israel and Moses. And Stephen points out that Moses is 40 when he flees Egypt. It took 20, 30 years of Moses watching his people get abused and mistreated before he responds in this massive way. And I mean, we've seen over the last number of years, for some of us it takes like 20, 30 minutes for us to see something happening and we blow up. But Moses, God's leader, has the same reaction, but it's not something that he just loses his temper on. This is something that he's watched build up years over years. And then Moses goes and he lives in the wilderness for another 40 years, Stephen would tell us in the book of Acts. Moses is somebody that had major chunks of his life, whether he was in Egypt watching God's people be mistreated 40 years, whether he's living in the wilderness for 40 years, and just kind of waiting to see if God's going to do anything. And then, of course, as he goes back to lead the people, they go into the wilderness for another 40 years. What I see in Moses' life is that God has great patience with him, but Moses has great patience with God too, allowing God to unfold different experiences in his life. So as we're reading this week, what I'd like for us to reflect on is, are there times in our lives when we are too quick to judge God's purpose, or we're too quick to kind of react or lose our temper, and we're not actually allowing God to unfold things in his natural course of time? Share some thoughts in the devotional Facebook group this week. I would love to hear what you're reflecting on. Don't just listen, be a participant, and let's learn together as we read through Exodus chapters 1 through 7.